Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Just Food. I'm Paul G, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make the perfect herb mix and also the correct way to cut herbs. So what we have is Italian parsley, Italian flat leaf parsley, not curly parsley. Make sure you get this parsley. It's a lot better on the chew when you're eating things. It's not so tough, and it's just a nicer parsley in my opinion. We have some thyme, and we have some chives. So it's going to be 2 parts parsley, 1 part thyme, 1 part chive. So I'm going to move the thyme and the chive out of the way, and we're going to start with the parsley. So when you work in a restaurant, what they're going to have you do is pick each individual leaf, okay? I'm not going to have you do that today. I'm going to show you a couple tricks. The whole goal is to not get any stems in your herb mix because they're just very tough and they don't chew well. So if you have the time, go through and pick your parsley, okay? If you don't have time or you just want to do it quickly, you can bunch your parsley up. And now, before we start cutting, I just want to point a couple things out. There's a lot of bad information out there that says just rough chop the parsley, rough chop your herbs. You can rough chop a little bit, but if you rough chop too much, you're going to smash your herbs and press all the water out, and that's what makes them turn black. So I want you to do instead is think about when you're cutting, as close as possible. Fine dice, chiffonade, very, very fine. And so the idea is think about my hand, and what you want to do is you want to cut this way, okay? And then once you've cut the parsley off the stem, you're going to turn that and cut the other way. So think of it as almost small dicing parsley, but just to get the smallest little fine minuscule of parsley, so when you are adding herbs to things, you're getting all that flavor and the smell, but you're not getting these big pieces of herbs when you're chewing and eating your food, okay? So let's go through this, and we're just gonna finely chop this parsley, okay? And go through it. And as you're cutting, if you decide to leave it on the stem, this is a judge-free zone. Remember, it's just food, okay? When you go through, rotate it so you're only getting the parsley and not all the stems, okay? All right, so we will start with that much, okay? I'll set this aside. And essentially now what you're going to do is turn this. So remember, just think of my hand, and you're slicing down, and then you're going to turn it and slice down again. So now we've turned this, and we're going to go through the same way. And I promise this seems like a lot of work, but in the end, it's going to save you time, energy, and effort, okay? So now you're going to go through and you're going to cut it some more. As finely as you can possibly chop the parsley. And we're not pressing, we're cutting. You'll get to the end, and essentially then you're going to turn it again. It's very important you have a very sharp knife when you're doing this, so you're not bruising the herbs. So now I've done that 1, 2, 3. We can probably go one more time. Remember, finer the better. You want it to be like dust, okay? And so there you go. So you can see you're almost getting a better result versus just going through, and doing this rough chop this way, This is much nicer. If you see a couple big pieces in there, you can go through it. There's no problem with the little rough chop. Okay. And there you have it. So that is parsley. So like I mentioned, to have a sheet with some paper towels or napkins or C folds. Restaurants will always have C folds. And then you're going to place your herbs there just so they can dry out. Okay? Set that aside. Make sure you always have your towel handy. Clean your knife. Okay? This back under. If you have a bench scrape, it's a great tool to keep your station clean. So next up, we are going to cut chives, and you'll want to essentially stand them up and see if you can get them uniform at the bottom so you have an even place to start. If you need to, just trim a little bit of the excess so as you're cutting, it's even. Chives, you cannot rough chop, okay? They are a little more delicate than parsley, not as forgiving with the rough chop. And you just want to go through, sure you use that rocking motion, this is not a press, and just slice those chives very nicely. And you'll know if you have a sharp knife, if you are keeping, I don't know if you can see that little circle, okay? And that's it. You're essentially going to go through and do that to the entire bunch of chives you have. Chives are also a great herb to practice on because they hold their shape nicely, and right away you'll know if your knife is sharp or not by the shape the chives take. If they're all smashed and messed up, your knife's not sharp. If they hold their form, they're sharp. Now remember, we are going to grab that pan or tray, whatever you have, with your paper towel or C folds. We're going to place your herbs on there. And this is just pulling any excess water off of your herbs. So next we have thyme. So what you're going to have to do is pull the leaves off the stem. And you're just going to go through and as best you can pull the leaves off the stem. Now, let's see if I can get a good shot. So you have your thyme here, okay? You kind of can grab the top and you're just going to pull down just like that. And that's it, okay? So grab the top and just pull down like that. Beautiful. Now, thyme is not an herb you can cut off the stem. Their stems are almost like a brittle tree branch. They're not good. You do not want any thyme stems in your herb mix. Now, that's not to say you won't get a little bit by accident. It's not the end of the world. Just make sure you're getting as little as possible. So you've pulled all the leaves off your thyme, and now we are going to cut it. And I want you to cut this similar to the parsley. As fine as you can go the first time, and you're going to go through and cut all that thyme, Okay. Then what you're going to try and do is kind of turn it a little bit if you can, and then go through again. Now, if you do this right, you should only have to do this maybe 3 or 4 times. Okay, and that's going to give you that beautiful dust. So bring over your container with your towel, and then we're going to put the thyme in there, and you can essentially spread these out a little bit, kind of mix them on this napkin. Now, if you've done this right, the trick is to just fold your napkin up and then dump all those beautiful herbs you just cut into your bowl. Now, if you have a spoon, you can use your finger. You just want to kind of mix everything up so it's nice and even. Smells so good. And so then when you're cooking, you're essentially just going to pick up a little bit and dust it. It's for garnish, it's for flavor. There you go. This is the perfect herb mix that we made with parsley, thyme, and chives.